This is Colin Liddell, and this is the Shortpod, a brief and succinct podcast commenting on the events and issues of the day. And today it is the 6th of January 2025. The start of the new year has been interesting, with a lot happening and a lot expected to happen this year. And one of the big news stories at the moment is the Grooming gang scandal, which has apparently been reheated through the intervention of people like Elon Musk and his criticisms of the British government, and also, surprisingly, Nigel Farage. Musk has criticised Farage for not standing behind Tommy Robinson, of all people. So Musk seems to have something of an outsider's view of British politics, regarding Tommy Robinson as some kind of noble crusader for justice. In the United Kingdom, people in the right wing or nationalist or ethno-nationalist side of British politics are at least half aware that Tommy Robinson is a major shit magnet and a very, very dubious kind of character, a kind of coke addict by all accounts, and somebody who really should not be trusted as far as you can throw him. My view of the grooming gang scandal is probably discernible from my past writings on this issue. I would say several things about it. First of all, I would say it's a problem of multiculturalism, mass immigration, and the difficulties of assimilating various populations. Secondly, it's a problem of post-industrial, post-Christian British working class societies, which are characterised by substance abuse, broken families, dysfunction of various kinds, welfarism, etc. And thirdly, this is an incredibly emotive subject, and therefore it has a lot of utility for what we can describe as fifth generation warfare, namely attempts to kind of polarise a certain nation, cause chaos, division, dysfunction, and various kinds of political ops. Really, anything involving children should always be treated with a great deal of circumspection, because children, whether they're raped, murdered, killed by the Israelis in Gaza, drowned migrant children, whatever, they're always very, very highly emotive, and they can be easily weaponized to push certain agendas or certain psyops. That is not, of course, to say that there is not a problem. There definitely is a problem, but there's more than a problem. There's several problems with these English towns and cities where this phenomenon of grooming gangs is taking place. There is also a kind of Islamic element to that, which Britain is extremely reluctant to address, because the British establishment is extremely worried about alienating a massive immigrant population. And not just that, Britain also has a lot of financial dealings with a lot of important Islamic countries, like the Saudis, like the Gulf states, etc. So the British establishment does not want to have even the faintest hint of Islamophobia. That's why you will often see pictures of people like King Charles dressed up in Arab gear. Now, what the British establishment wants to do about grooming gangs, from what I can tell, is to stop them. But they want to employ technocratic methods. They want to have a low-key approach. They want to find out what's going wrong and find ways to make it less and less possible to happen. A lot of people on the more nationalist or populist side, they want to play up the evilness of what's going on. They want to emotionalize the issue. They want to generate a lot of heat, a lot of anger. And, that's an interesting approach. But it's also quite a dangerous approach. It could lead to all sorts of serious ethnic tensions. And of course, that might be by design. They might have an added agenda of using this issue to emphasize the unworkability of a multicultural nation. And you can see some sort of rationale behind that too. So this is what's going on in the United Kingdom. You have a problem. I think most people admit and acknowledge the problem. I don't think anybody's really trying to ignore it or cover it up completely, but there's an establishment low-key approach, technocratic approach, using the police and the social services to gradually resolve the issue in a way that does not disrupt the, inverted commas, social fabric. And then on the other side, you have a much more kind of angry populist, our girls, our poor little virgin princesses being raped and molested and prostituted and turned into junkies by these evil invaders kind of narrative. And then from several thousands of miles away, you have people like Elon Musk suddenly deciding out of the blue to support Tommy Robinson. So my view is the following. My view is that we should crack down on these grooming gangs. We should find out who they are. We should send them to prison, deport them where we can, after they've served their sentences, obviously. We should give them extremely long sentences. We should closely monitor the communities that are most involved in these crimes. And also, we should deal with the other problem from the other side, which are these dysfunctional, welfare-ridden, broken family, working-class, post-industrial, post-Christian towns. These kind of chav towns. So that's the other side of the problem. These people have to also be dealt with, because if these Pakistani immigrants had come into extremely well-ordered moral societies, they wouldn't really have had the same amount of leeway to do what they did. So it's one kind of dysfunction, South Asian, jihadi Islamic, clannish, alienated outsider, impacting on another kind of dysfunction, post-industrial, post-Christian, working-class, chav society. That is essentially what has kind of created this problem. And in order to properly solve this problem, we have to stop it being weaponized by outside actors. Elon Musk is clearly an outside actor in this respect. We don't really know what his motives are. He's been all over the place. He's got all sorts of dubious economic connections to places like China, where he has a major gigafactory somewhere in Shanghai, which produces most of his Teslas. His positioning on the Ukraine war and Putin is also very, very suspicious. He started out as somebody who was supportive of the Ukrainians shortly after the invasion, and then suddenly he did a complete turnaround and he became much, much more sympathetic to Kremlin narratives. He also played a very dubious part in the recent American election. A lot of people were very happy about that. But basically, this is just another billionaire distorting and skewing an election result at the end of the day. And of course, a random billionaire on his own, having his own personal reasons for throwing his money behind this candidate or that campaign is one thing, but it's quite another thing when that might be tied to a geopolitical agenda of a major power like Russia or like China. So to sum up, we basically need to clear the problem space from outside influence, and then we have to look more deeply at the problem. We have to look at both sides of the problem, the Islamic, South Asian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi grooming gang side of the problem, and also we have to look at the other side of the problem, these broken, dysfunctional, post-industrial, white, working-class towns characterized by broken families, drug abuse, drink, kids that have no real respect for parents, etc., things like that. So those are the three things I would emphasize. Clear the problem space, focus on the brown problem, and also focus on the white problem. Over and out.